it up.
So here we are at this wonderful secluded spot. We came to swim in this secluded lake. The morning was really sunny, and a sunny morning in the monsoon has to be taken advantage of. So we were here and we had a nice swim.
Okay, alright.
And one of the questions that occupied my mind during the swim was, is Totoro real? And why did this question pop up? Because of a visitor we had at our home last night. You all know the fantastic movie My Neighbor Totoro by Hayao Miyazaki. It's an amazing movie. If you haven't seen it, please go out and see it. And it's one of my favorite films. And there's this wonderful character in it called Totoro, who is at the same time, he's fun, he's lovable, but also scary. I think the basis for Totoro is the guy who visited us last night. And this creature visits us because of this very special tree. This tree is an oak tree, but not just any oak. This is not endemic to this area. This is an English oak. My grandfather got some acorns from England when he visited, and out of those acorns, this tree has now grown up. This is about 40 years old, and look at it, it's beautiful. And to eat the little acorns that come out, we get this flying squirrel. Now what you see here is the red giant flying squirrel. This is one of the 2 flying squirrels found in this area. The other squirrel is the considerably smaller Kashmir flying squirrel, an injured specimen of which was rescued by the famous photographer and environmentalist Anup Shaji a few years back and then released back into the wild. To tell you more about flying squirrels, let me do a really pathetic impression of Sir David Attenborough. My apologies in advance.
There are about 50 species of flying squirrel spread around the world in different habitats, including Miyazaki's native Japan. They don't really fly like birds or bats, but are able to glide from one tree to another with the aid of a furry, parachute-like membrane that stretches from wrist to ankle. Their long tails provide the much-needed stability in flight. Most are nocturnal and omnivorous. They eat fruit, seeds, buds, flowers, insects, fungi, and even tree sap. They are known to nest in the cavities of trees. They are stealthy and extremely difficult to spot. Few people ever see them. It's not easy for even scientists to study them. In fact, a new species of flying squirrel, the Humboldt's flying squirrel, was only discovered in 2017. The Travancore flying squirrel of the Western Ghats in India was thought to be extinct in the early 1900s, but then it reappeared in the 1960s. It wasn't seen again for another 20 years. The woolly flying squirrel, on the other hand, was discovered in 1924. It then disappeared, only to be seen again in 1994 in Pakistan. After that sighting, it again vanished, like the phantasmagoria of a fever dream, only to be seen in 2020 in India. So they are every bit as mysterious and elusive as the eponymous Totoro. Sadly, however, habitat loss poses a grave threat to their survival.
And of late, a lot of them seem to be crashing into power lines. They get electrocuted and they die. And that is a problem all over. We found many flying squirrels dead below power lines. So that's tough. But the natural world is always struggling with modernity in that way. We put up power lines. We don't think of the collateral damage that these things cause. So I think Totoro is definitely real. Real in the sense that he's inspired by something like the flying squirrel. But the one thing that is not inspired by the flying squirrel, I'm sure, is Totoro's wonderful whistle. One of the most enduring images in My Neighbor Totoro is Totoro on top of a tree, and he has this wonderful whistle, that echoes all around. It's beautiful and deep. That is not inspired by the flying squirrel at all, because the flying squirrel has this weird screech that almost sounds like a kind of a baby screeching. Let me do a really pathetic impression of the flying squirrel. And probably his whistle, that deep whistle, is inspired by an owl. And not just any owl, though, larger owls. The larger owls actually whistle like that. Here you see a wood owl. My pathetic impression of a wood owl. And I think a lot of magical and fantastical things that we see on screen can perhaps be inspired by this magical, crazy world around us. So that's it from me. The only question that remains is the cat bus real? So, until next time, woof woof.
Add it up.